the lucky few professionals who are always hired despite today's tough job market. What are you doing on there to separate yourself from the pack?
Use LinkedIn like a newsroom, except the news is about me.
How difficult is it to place candidates today?
Employers are more cautious and strategic. You always need to have that 3 to 4 minute elevator pitch.
Always the hire, never the fire. Hi, I'm Jill Wildfong, Chief Marketing Officer for Korn Ferry, and this is Briefings, our deep dive into topics that corporate leaders need to care about. Odds are you know someone or some people who've been unemployed for the better part of this year. And that's probably because a quarter of unemployed people in the U.S. have been jobless for an average 27 weeks. Across the ocean in Britain, the story isn't much different, with the UK unemployment rate this year reaching its highest level since 2021. With figures like this, it's not surprising that a growing army of people are not only pulling their hair out, they're giving up. And yet, in the midst of all of this mayhem, there's a handful of folks who seem to be living in an alternate universe. Some might say a paradise, coasting along, easily shifting from job to job. We've dubbed them the always hired, a cadre of professionals who seem to be draped in workplace Teflon when it comes to layoff announcements and economic downturns. Even HR pros are mystified by these career chameleons who can change jobs seemingly at will, while the rest of us frantically update our LinkedIn profiles and send email after email to unresponsive hiring managers. So the question is, how exactly do they do it? Today we'll find out as we talk to one of these specially anointed individuals, as well as a top professional search executive, to learn the secret to being always the hire, never the fire. Before we start, if you're watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let us know your thoughts on this topic. I am joined now by Laura Podesta, a media training and PR strategy consultant who is one of the rare breed of professional who's always working. Get this, in a 3-decade career, she has only been unemployed for 10 business days. Laura, it's very intimidating. Thank you for coming on today.
Hi, Jill. It's so nice to be here and hopefully offer some tips so that other people can get back to work.
I think so. We need you. I have to ask, it is a brutal job market, as you know. So when people hear that you're always employed, how do they react? Do they get upset?
No, I've never gotten that reaction. Most people want to get on a call and say, how are you doing it? How are you finding clients? How are you putting yourself out there on LinkedIn? How can I do the same? So it's a lot of people just trying to figure out how can they convert what I'm doing for their industry.
You have said that you get 95% of your work through LinkedIn, but surely LinkedIn can't be the only reason why you've been so successful. That platform has over 1 billion users with about 65 million people actively seeking jobs each week. What are you doing on there to separate yourself from the pack? It's a big pack.
Well, I'm very open about what I do, and I'm very communicative on LinkedIn. I'm formerly a journalist, so I use LinkedIn a little bit like a newsroom, except the news is about me and what I've been doing and how I've been helping my clients. For example, I do a lot of PR strategy. So when I land one of my clients in the news, I'm sure to put that article and explain what they're doing that's so great that I was able to get CNBC interested in them. I kind of explain how the sausage is made when it comes to public relations. And then other founders, other brands, other PR folks see what I'm doing and reach out and say, can you help me? Or what's your rate? Are you available? And I get a lot of work because I'm advertising myself on LinkedIn.
Once you leave this building, every time an opportunity presents itself, no matter what it is, you will say yes.
Yes! 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 Yes!
That's a scene from the movie Yes Man, where Jim Carrey plays a man whose life transforms once he decides to say yes to every proposal that comes his way. Laura, you've said that one of the keys to your continual employment is that, much like Jim Carrey's character, you rarely say no to things. Tell me more about how that approach to life has helped your career.
I love to work and I really love to learn. Recently, I was approached by a company in healthcare, and I'd never really worked with healthcare reporters, but I know that because I can tell a story and convert it into a pitch for any journalist, that I could also do that with healthcare. So I said yes. And you know what? In the process of learning more about this healthcare industry, I'm going to be learning and I'm going to be helping elevate my career. I would say I'm also very open and say yes to things like outreach when people want to have a coffee or a virtual coffee, or if they want to call me and just get some ideas for how to reframe their career. I never say no to this because it's 15 minutes out of my day, 20 minutes out of my day. I never know when in life I might be needing to talk to that person again, or maybe they'll be able to refer me to a job. So I think you really have to look at it with that abundance mindset of, I am going to be open, and who knows where it'll lead, and it'll probably lead to something positive.
Finally, for those who are currently unemployed, you've said that creating your own employment can be a useful bridge to the next opportunity. And you've given an example of a Udemy course you created that only made you $12, but it ended up leading to much more work down the line. I love this story. Talk a little bit about that.
So we've all read these articles about passive income, and I was reading about these folks who have courses and they get subscribers and they make a really good passive income. And I have this background in TV news journalism, and I help people with public relations and public speaking. And I was like, I could do a Udemy course. I could create a course and then get subscribers and hopefully have a passive income. That was my idea. And it did not work in that way. Like you said, I made $12 from it. Maybe it's like $19 from it so far, but it's been up for a year, and it certainly cost a lot more to produce it. But what it is this living, breathing portfolio that I can send to job prospects or send to people who ask me, do you have anything to show how you work? And that has been invaluable, and it's gotten me so many jobs because they can quickly see, oh, that's what she looks like. That's how she speaks. That's how she comes across. For anyone that has work online, if you're able to kind of consolidate it in a YouTube link or in a portfolio link and be able to send that off, that's a really great way to grab a job opportunity as soon as it comes along to you.
You certainly have a can-do spirit. I can definitely see why people are keen to hire you, and really appreciate the warmth and sharing here today. I think it'll do a lot of us a lot of good.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I hope that some of what I've said has really resonated with your viewers. And if anyone needs any public relations or media relations or public speaking assistance, I'm always here.
We've looked at the always hired phenomenon from a first-person perspective. When we come back, we'll talk to a top search executive to find out what makes these unique individuals stand out from the company angle. Stay with us.
Hi, and welcome to This Week in Leadership. I'm Rupak Bhattacharya, and here's a quick look at what else is happening in business.
Emotional support animals.
Emotional support animals have risen an estimated 50% from 5 years ago, leading to a surge of requests from employees to bring their pet to work. Experts say that even though it might initially be an administrative lift, leaders would be wise to establish clear guidelines around pets in the office to avoid unintended disruptions at work.
A white-collar recession.
A new study found that white-collar jobs attracted twice the number of applicants per opening compared to the average rate for all applicants per job. It's symptomatic of the current moment, where leaders are waiting to see if certain white-collar roles can be automated away, while candidates leverage AI to submit more applications than they have in the past.
Employees are no longer trusting their leaders.
Last year, less than half of employees said they trust their senior leaders, and 68% said they think leaders purposely mislead people. Leadership advisors say the solution to turning things around this year comes down to increased communication that's authentic, allows for conversation, and values fairness. For more insights from This Week in Leadership, head to kornferry.com/insights. Now back to Jill and our episode. Always the hire, never the fire.
Fine, I'll have a job in 24 hours.
How the hell are you going to do that?
I'll have a job in 24 hours.
We've been talking about the lucky few professionals who are always hired despite today's tough job market. And here to shed light on these people from the company perspective is Smriti Kangovi, a managing consultant with Korn Ferry's North America technology practice of professional search. She has spent her career identifying the kinds of people that companies clamor for. Smriti, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here.
So that last clip was from the movie Kramer versus Kramer, where Dustin Hoffman confidently proclaims he will get a job within 24 hours. Of course, that's a far cry from what most job seekers experience today. Before we talk about what makes a person infinitely hireable, give us some background, some context on the job market today. In your search practice, how difficult is it to place candidates today versus a few years ago?
I think the job market in 2025 is very different from what it was post-pandemic. It was a hiring surge. After years of, I think, the rapid growth that we've seen and you know, in terms of the turnover, I believe hiring has slowed down a bit because employers are more cautious and strategic in terms of focusing on high impact roles tied to very specific skills associated with either industry, domains, or growth areas instead of, you know, mass hiring.
I think we're all feeling it. It is a different market for sure. In the first half of this episode, we talked to someone who'd only been unemployed for 10 days in her 3-decade-long career. So when you're assessing someone's odds of getting placed in a role, what is it that you see in a person who has that kind of incredible track record versus one who doesn't? What separates the two?
It would be preparation. I would say the top reason why candidates do well is they do their research. They spend time preparing for interviews. And I think the most underrated part is the soft skills, because a lot of times clients come back to us with feedback saying, hey, there was low energy with this candidate, or this candidate, we couldn't see their personality. They were just being very mechanical. They just stopped at certain they didn't get deeper, or they didn't share enough information.
We need to talk about your camera setup during your Zoom or video interview. I'm not messing around. Appearances are important, and that's a big part of a video interview.
That's job search strategist Madeline Mann speaking about the critical importance of getting your camera set up right for virtual interviews. And that makes sense, given that 8 in 10 companies have adopted virtual interviews in their recruitment process. But one neuroscience study found that looking at another person's face via a live computer screen prompts lower levels of certain brain activities and social arousal compared with seeing them in reality. So tell me, how has this rapid increase in video conferencing changed candidates' odds of landing a role? Is it harder because there's no in-person connection, or is it easier because you can hide behind a camera? Where do you see this playing out?
From a candidate's perspective, I would categorize this as a mixed bag, more like a double-edged sword. On one hand, candidates have more flexibility. They don't have to travel. They can take these interviews at the comfort of their home office. On the flip side, I would say the biggest challenge, to your point, I think, it's more like challenges around technical issues. Sometimes you have these awkward delays, making conversation a bit less fluid, right? So I think that rapport building becomes harder.
Let's end on your best tips. For anyone looking to join the always hired category of professional, when you coach candidates before their big interviews, what do you tell them to help them get the edge and land the job? What's your pep talk?
You always need to have that 3 to 4 minute elevator pitch. Clear and concise career narrative. I think having relevant examples to talk through the impact that their roles have had is very important. I ask candidates to make notes or have written it down somewhere, top 4 to 5 accomplishments or projects that demonstrate the value that they were able to drive.
Thank you so much. I think this is one of those things we always wonder, like, what's the secret to these folks that are always landing jobs? And it's nice to have your inside perspective. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The executive producer of Briefings is Jonathan Dahl. Today's episode was produced by Rupak Bhattacharya and Zachary Dorr. And it was edited by Jaron Henry McRae. It contains reporting by Russell Perlman, Ariane Cohen, and Peter Loria. Our video segment contains original artwork by Fraser Milton, Haley Kennel, Jonathan Pink, and Sasha Kotschik. Don't forget to read our magazine, available at newsstands and at kornferry.com/briefings. That's it for Korn Ferry Briefings. I'm Jill Wiltfong. See you next time. Smithy.